Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is Deep Sea, and if you're also excited for the Dawn War series finally getting an HD remastered and finally getting attention from GW after all these years, then this is the video for you. So I'm going to be going over my little thematic Blood Ravens list, and the way I built this list is I'm challenging myself to only use units from Dawn War 3, or if it's not in it or it just doesn't make sense to have it in the army, kind of tweak it a little bit. For example, the tactical marines are still around, it's just that you can't really get them too often, and there's just other units that do what they do but better. So this is going to kind of be the Blood Ravens official 40k update, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So if that's interesting, then stick around. So the first part of this video is just going to be mainly what units I can use, what are their roles, and what layouts we should have. And the second part is going to be the actual army list. So we'll switch over to that later. I am going to put in the video description a little timestamp that you can just skip to if you just want to go to the army. But for you all that want to stay here and figure out what units we can use, here are our options. So we actually do have a decent amount of options here. So there's Gabriel Angelos himself, who I would say is the most confusing, because if you want something that's similar to how he looks like, I would say go with the Captain in Terminator Armour, but I would recommend just taking bits and pieces of it and adding it to either the Librarian or vice versa, because there is the Captain or the Terminator in Librarian Armor, which I believe fits better and is going to be useful later once we get to the actual list building. We have Chaplain Dialis, I think, which actually gives us a pretty good option because he's a chaplain in Terminator Armor, which is going to also become good later. And then we have Chief Librarian, what's his name? Jonah Oren. He's actually pretty good, and he does actually have a very thematic enhancement that we're going to use later. For anyone that's curious, we do have options. So you could also run this as kind of a weird not kill team, but Death Watch, if that makes sense. So because we do have kill team Iron Maw, which gives us a few options. We also have the options of having regular Terminators, Assault Terminators, and a few different types of Dreadnoughts, which is also going to become important later. For the other units we have Assault Marines, which thankfully there's a 40k equivalent. We also have Devastator Marines, which are actually still in 40k. Those guys are going to actually become a big part of the list, probably the biggest part. We have the option of a Dreadnought, which it's still around, but I think it's a little harder to actually get it. We have a Land Speeder, and to be clear, this specific one that's in the game is the Land Speeder Hail Strike. We also have the Predator, Destructor, and Annihilator, which is actually not bad for anti-tank and just general destructiveness. A Scout Squad was actually fairly competitive. We also have Sniper Scout Squad, but unfortunately that's not a thing anymore. Our regular Scout Squad is just going to have a random sniper in it. Unfortunately for all of us, we can't really bring a Servitor anymore, since they got removed from the game of, I believe, last edition. So that sucks, we do lose out on a unit. The Tactical Marines, I would say, are fine if you want to get the actual Tactical Marines, but I would say just go with a regular Intercessor Squad. And to give us a little more options, since the tactical marines can already take plasma weapons or flame weapons in the game as a general upgrade, I'm going to let us also take plasma teams and furnace teams. The whirlwind is actually going to be one of our biggest win conditions. The anti-blast on this thing is amazing. It sucks in the game, and it's going to be amazing on the tabletop. So we're going to transfer over to the actual list now. Here are the options. We already went over the options. So let's see what we come up with. Alright, now we get to the cool part of the video, also the second part, where we're going to talk about the actual list. So, I had a little trouble in the beginning because I didn't really know which to specifically do. And you might be asking yourself, well, Mr. Deep Sea, what's the problem? Well, the Blood Ravens technically aren't a sub-chapter of any current Space Marine chapter. They're kind of their own thing because they were specifically made for Dawn of War. And you might be asking yourself, well, that doesn't seem like a problem. It's not really, until you start to realize how am I gonna make this actual list. So we have two options, either Ultramarines or Death Watch. You might be asking yourself, Death Watch? Why the fuck Death Watch? It's because in Dawn War 3 we have the option of bringing a kill team from the Death Watch and Gabriel Angelos, including his main man, his Librarian, also serving in the Death Watch, so both of them have access to summon in Death Watch units if they need to. So that's why I was kind of thinking to myself, maybe? But then I kind of thought about it. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of Psyker units. But you know who gives us an extra Psyker unit is the Ultramarines. They give us an extra Psyker unit we can actually play with. And if you're running this detachment normally, I would recommend just going Ultramarines. But you might be asking yourself, well, what list have you decided to build with this option? Well, first we gotta talk about the detachment. So we're going to go Librarius Conclave. You might be asking, well, why? Whenever a Psyker unit is leading a unit, we can make it into a Psyker unit. AKA, we can choose one of these doctrines, either +2 to movement, reroll on 1s for hits and wounds, 1 less strength to my enemy's weapons, +1 AP if you're within 12 of me, or I can ignore all modifiers. I would say that's pretty fucking good. And it gives us plenty of options to put our Psykers to use. For the characters, I decided on Chief Librarian Tigurius, a Librarian in Terminator Armour, and a regular Librarian. There are a few more, but let me explain this. So, Chief Librarian Tigurius, specifically because he looks like the other Librarian in the game. A regular Librarian is just kind of padded out a little bit, and the Librarian in Terminator Armour to be our stepping stone for Gabriel Angelos. Which brings us to this. Chaplain in Terminator Armour, specifically for the Chaplain in the game that constantly blurts out his own fucking name every time you summon him or every time you click on him. AKA Mr. Donomales himself. I almost call him Dominoes for some reason. And this is not required or part of the list. The Captain in Terminator Armour is more of a cosmetic choice, because there's a head option there that looks like Gabriel Angelos. So if you want, you could just pick him up instead and just say that's your Psyker. I would recommend just mixing him with the Librarian Terminator Armour, but that's just a me thing. For our battle line. So, Our actual bayonet line is going to be on the right. I would say bring a 5-man of intercessors to kind of fit in the tactical marines. You do have the option to buy actual just tactical marines, but in my opinion, they just don't have the abilities anymore. Thematically, they do make sense because if you bring a full 10-man squad, its ability lets you split up into 2 5-man. I would say it's not really worth it because the intercessors give you better options. Plus, you can make the tactical squad fit, but it's not really a good option. It's good because it has a bunch of options, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would just go for the 5-man intercessor squad. Now, this is purely because how I play the game. 2 Devastator squads. These are going to be your anti-horde, anti-whatever on the board. You might be asking yourself, well, Mr. Deepsea, this seems a little excessive. Well, as the mighty words of my local shopkeeper, aka Mr. Sean, best kill is overkill. So, we're going to have a 5-man of full las cannons and a 5-man of heavy bolters. Yes, this is going to be the 2 most annoying units on the board, and yes, your family and friends will hate you for playing the double Devastator squads. But, for thematic purposes, this is what we're going to do. Then, to kind of give a little extra backup, and make sense, the Assault Intercessors with jump packs are going to be our Aggressor Marines, or Assault Marines, because that's how they look in Dawn War 3. Honestly, you can take them with either heavy bolt pistols or plasma guns. It doesn't really matter. If you want, you could go the veteran Assault Marines because they have the shields and plasma swords. But also doesn't make sense because in the game it's your power swords and pistol. So it's like, you can take it or leave it. Then you have the Hellblasters, which are specifically just because you can get an upgrade in the game that lets your tactical marines take, Hellblaster weapons, aka plasma guns. Also, same thing, 5-man squad. All of these are going to be 5-man squads, by the way. Then we have the Storm Speeder. Specifically, the Hellstrike one is the one that we see in the game, so that's the one we're going to take. Oh, and for some reason, it doesn't give you all the it doesn't automatically equip all the options. So do that, please. The Scout Squad, I would say if you manage to buy one, I feel like you can just fit in the full 10-man squad if you want. But just for how many points we're going to do a 5-man squad, and one of them is going to be equipped with a sniper rifle to also help with the scout sniper. Then we have the even more meat to add to our already big pile of potatoes. The full Thunderhammer assault unit, and 1 Cyclone missile launcher having Terminators. That's why we got the 2 Terminators earlier. So, obviously the Chaplain is going to go with the full Thunderhammer squad, and the other one is going to go with the regular Terminator squad. Then, we get to the fun part. The Blood Ravens consistently bring in heavy vehicles. Unfortunately, this was way before like the Lane Raider or anything. They most definitely would have had something like that, and that's kind of an option if you don't want a Predator, Annihilator, or Destructor. But we are going to bring the Dreadnought. That's non-negotiable, and we're going to bring it with the Plasma option and the Flamer option. So on his left arm is going to have the Dreadnought close combat. The Plasma gun is going to be on his right with the Flamer. And we're going to bring in 1 Annihilator and 1 Destructor. with the Whirlwind. The Whirlwind is going to be your anti-horde. The Annihilator and Destructor are going to be anti that big fucking thing right there. And the Dreadnought's just going to be general purpose. And probably going to be like your big punching boy if you want. And to kind of wrap up the video, the final points really come out to 1975. So not like a full 2000, but it does give you enough points to like mess around with some of the hand and unit sizes. Possible other detachments, I wouldn't say they're thematic. They're more just like if you want to try and make this list work better. The Storm Lance could give you the feel of like actually playing Dawn of War 3 on the tabletop, because it gives you the option to fall back, shoot, charge, or advance. Firestorm Assault is just if you want to play pure attack and give yourself a +1 strength. And Anvil Siege Forge is mostly if you just want to play defensive. Just giving you a few other options if you don't want to play like full Psyker. So that's gonna be the end of the video. If you liked it, please let me know. Follow, like, subscribe. And I'm assuming if you made it to the end of the video, you liked this content. If you have other chapters that you want me to make like a thematic list for, let me know. Like, I can think of one for the Caradons, the fucking Dark Knights, whatever the fuck they're called. So, let me know in the comments. And if you have anything else, that's it.